It is a late night. Um, it's hard for me to make serious videos because I know everyone's thing right now is that nothing is that deep or nothing's that serious. But um, yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess I have problems making videos about me because it feels self-centered. But I guess creation, the fact that someone thinks that they have something worth saying or that that they deserve to be heard, or someone thinking that their emotions or their ideas or what they want to create are so important that they need to put them out there. um the fact that someone thinks this and to you know puts it to the process of actually creating, I guess that's selfish, and we call that skill. Now, this isn't to say that skill doesn't exist or talent doesn't exist, because I'd be a fool to say that, especially in my position where it's like I admire a lot of people, right? And not in any particular field. Of course, the fields I like are people I admire, but people like mathematicians who do something I take no particular interest in, I still have a lot of respect for good mathematicians. I think math is um, a very rich field, and I mean math is so broad. You have arithmetic. Arithmetic would probably be my favorite type of math because dealing with equations and things like that. I'm not much a not geology, not geography person either. Geometry, that's the word. I'm not much a geometry person, not much a trigonometry person. I like statistics. I think statistics are cool, but good old arithmetic. I like arithmetic, right? So people who do things, people who work in the maths, I guess, people who work in the maths are, I greatly admire these people, even though I don't know very much about mathematics. And there are undoubtedly people who are insanely talented and have a lot of skill in what they do, but that being said, it's like anytime you create something, there's an amount of innate selfishness that you know, um, that we can't deny, right? Um, I don't mean this in a cynical way where I think people are always self-serving, but creation, creation and selfishness to where you think something is worth doing needs to exist for the continuation of society. But um, so yeah, I wanted to talk about identity today, my own identity, and it's uh, the problems I have, because I just started thinking about this today, and I mean I've had various one-off thoughts like this where it's like on paper, like I make music, I do a variety of things, but I'm not an author and I'm not a musician, right? And I'll hold no quarrelsome arguments with people. You know, um, I get to decide what I am, and here I am telling you. This is not me opening a discussion. This is me saying with full volition and uh, you know, full understanding of the scope of what I do and what I create, because I love it, right? Not for any profit incentive, but because I love it, and that still doesn't qualify me as anything. And this is me saying to you that because I decide what I am, and because you can't tell me what I am and what I am not, um, this is not something that is subjective of a person. This is not like me saying that I make a certain genre of music when the music is completely independent of me, and because the music is completely independent of me. I'll use that as an example. I do not determine what the music is, but I am determining what I am right now, and I am to tell you, I'm not a musician, that I'm not an author, that I'm not a scholar, that I'm not a genius, that I'm not brilliant, that I'm not an idiot. I'm not I'm not a lot of things, right? I'm not perfect. I'm not a lot. There are a lot of things I am not. And I I don't use those words anywhere. I don't describe myself as a band or an artist or an art collective. I'm not any of those things because I don't deserve to be. And this isn't me bashing myself. I try my fucking hardest and that's all I can ever ask myself to do, and that's okay. It's okay to fall short of the greatness that a lot of people achieve, and I'm never ever I could never allow myself to stand among the greats, even if I work as hard as I possibly can. If I think about every word, every detail, like I did in the song Hitze, because it's in the German language and I wanted it to be elegantly crafted to the German language, even as I work and work and work on songs like that, I could never stand among the greats. I could never stand among even the microcosm, the greats of the microcosm. I could never stand among the people I admire, even if they have a small following. Someone could have a smaller following than me, and if I hold their art in esteem, I could never stand with them. I couldn't. I could not stand. I could not bear to say that my music is better than anybody's, because that hurts. That's so. It hurts me to think that anybody could put my music above anything. I don't know if my computer just made that noise. I have my fucking notifications off. Sorry, but this is me saying that it hurts. I could never. I don't care how many listens I have. I don't care what people say to me about my music. I don't care, like, hate comments, love comments. Yeah, I've gotten both, right? You know, and I mean, I admire the feedback regardless. But I I couldn't. It's just, hold on. A band I'm really fond of, the Blams. If like someone, because they're bigger than me, obviously, but they're still a relatively small project, and they make different music to me. Like, if someone wanted to compare my music to the Blams, like, I couldn't wrap my head around anybody putting me above them, and no one does that. And I'm glad no one does that. I'm glad no one does that with anything. And I know comparison is the thief of joy, but I can't do that. Like, I don't want. I could never ever put myself in the conversation. Now, people in my life have used the word genius to describe me, very loosely, and it's not because they don't know what genius is, but because, I don't know, they see something in me that isn't there, and it's okay for it not to be there, right? And I'm not just blowing smoke up my ass. It's like, people have used that word before, and a lot of people get called genius, and I not in the realm of music. No one's ever used my music and called that genius, right? Not seriously, of course. I mean, there are jokes out there, but, like, people have used this word genius to describe just, like, intellect in general, and, like, as much as I appreciate the sentiment behind that, I'm not a genius. I never will be a genius. I'm not a scholar. I don't know. I don't know if the word academic has positive connotations, and if it does, then I don't want to use the word academic. I am I'm uh I'm logic oriented. I'm logocentric. Um, I guess logocentric would be like, writing, a term used in writing, but logos centric. I'm thinking about logic, but, like, in the scope of knowledge, right? And there are things that it's never too late to grasp something, but there are things I don't have a good foothold on, that I have no desire to get a foothold on. But the things I do love, like science, language, art, history, those things, and that's a lot. But that's how most people are. People are very multifaceted, right? And I'm not even going to use the word multifaceted to describe myself, because I'm really not multifaceted. I'm not brilliant, and that's okay. Like, I'm sitting before you here telling you that, like, I'm not saying that the stuff I do isn't worth looking at, because it's like a Murphy's Law or Chekhov's gun, where it's like, because it exists, it's going to be seen for the most part. Like, it's very hard for things not to be seen in the realm of the internet. I'm not saying that it's not worth it, because I wouldn't apply that logic to someone else. Like, if someone made music the exact same way I did, and they did all the things that I do to make music, I would listen to it because that's who I am, right? But what I am saying is what I've said in videos before, where it's, you don't owe me any measure of respect. You don't owe me any. You don't owe me listening. You don't owe me seeing. I get frustrated. I get frustrated when, I put my heart and soul into something and it doesn't get seen, because I know that that isn't anybody's fault except for the algorithm, right? I get mad at the algorithm for not letting people give it a shot for themselves, right? There's a difference between being disliked and not being allowed to do something, right? If the algorithm doesn't push the stuff I do put a lot of work into, and I mean, to be fair, a lot of this falls on me because I don't market myself, and like that's a big blunder on my thinking here, where it's, I don't market myself and I don't talk myself up because I think that's incredibly selfish. I released an album, and I posted some stuff on Facebook and on Instagram, and I felt bad doing it, because it's like, I feel so selfish doing that when I could be promoting someone else's music. But I guess the way I justify that is, you don't have a limit on story posts or Facebook posts. A day will come. I'm not losing daylight by posting this. It's something familiar to me, so there's always that. But I don't know. There is still that level of cognitive dissonance where I have to break my own heart a little bit. But, like, I do get frustrated when there's no fair chance in, you know there's no fair chance in any of it. And yeah, I don't blame people for that. But at the same time, I don't know what I would do if people came back, or I got a cult following. I don't think I could handle it. And, like, people like give me compliments out of nicety, not out of genuine thought. I think a lot of the time, but I don't know. I don't ask these types of questions to people that say nice things to me, because um you look full of yourself if you get deep into that. Like, if someone compliments you and you're like, "Oh, do you really think that, or are you just saying that to say that?" Because then it looks like you're feeding your ego. But I really will never know. Where it's like, I think these people look at what I do, and they admire the work I put into it, which is nice. If I write a couple thousand words on something, and because I mean, that does take time. It takes, like, to have a good, well-rounded story, or, like, not good, well-rounded. I don't want to use that word involving my media. I guess I don't want to use the word good, but to have something that is thought out beyond just typing a string of consciousness. So to have something thought out, where it's like, okay, the plot is going to be this, the message is going to be this character is going to say this, and he's going to inflect himself in this way, and he is going to be a vehicle for this idea. It takes a while. I was very pleased with Sanguine, and I'm sorry to be pleased with something like that, I guess, because I mean, just listen previous and you'll understand why I apologize for that. But um I was very pleased with Sanguine, because it represented me trying something I hadn't done before. I had never used these dark fantasy elements, and something that wasn't I had never really delved into something that was based in something fantastical, something that you can't grasp, based in the supernatural. And it was very dissonant for me because I'll never write a story like Sanguine again. Or at least not for a while, because it was such a departure from what I like writing about and the style I like writing. But I was pleased with it. I was pleased with it because, like, speaking of, I love vampire stuff. I love vampire media. I think vampire media is very cool, and I know vampires don't exist. So there came this question where it's like, where do I want to have this take place? England. I was originally going to do German, but here's my thing. Here's my thing. If I'm going to write a story based in Germany, I'm going to write it in German. And that's why oh shit, what is it? The rancher the rancher dinner on a boat Sanguine, they all take place in England. And this is not because I don't know what Germany's like. I mean, I've never been there myself, but I know what Germany's like. I know what Germany. I know the ways of the past cultures because I've read about them, or as much as any human can tangibly grasp. I've read these things in the German language, and this is where my only confidence comes. And the fact that I know, and the reason I can say that I know is not because I did any work, but because someone else did work and I can read and learn. I have done none of this work. Tenbrook, I have done no work here. I have read papers. I have read a lot of papers. I've read books. I've read papers. I've read articles about these things. There's no work involved in that. I just absorb the information, and I do with the information. I do with the information and the facts. I do my own interpretation, which is again selfishness, right? And in this selfishness, I try not to appeal to a confirmation bias by seeing if other people agree with me, but like, yeah, I come up with my own points and I try to defend them using what the facts say. Aaron Raw says, or I think, do people say Aaron? I've watched so many of this blog's videos, but he says the truth is what the facts are, and I like that. I like that saying because it keeps it short, it keeps it concise, and it keeps it understandable. But in the succinctness there, I also want to derive out of that the truth is what the facts are, but the facts don't say anything. The facts do not say anything. It's up to interpretation. I think I've said this in videos past, but the truth being what the facts are, it's that broad statement encompasses so much, right? So what I try to do is I try to make a bigger picture, right, out of so many facts. Why do things happen? Because it's not just one thing leads to another. It's everything. It's everything. That decision that seemingly creates the domino effect, outside factors, and then before that, everything that came before that. So, like, whatever evolved into humans directly. So the earliest common ancestor for the genus Homo, right? Like, that is a direct domino of humanity, right? One of, and to use evolution there. But you also have what the Earth is doing to help that species evolve, and then you have, things on a very like cellular scale, and then you have biomes, and this is like very disorganized. So you would go on like an atomic scale to a cellular scale to like tissues, and then from tissues to organs to organisms to the levels of organization. You go from what is it, the universe, everything the provable universe. The provable universe, if you could prove the multiverse, I guess it would be the multiverse down to the, I don't know, quark subatomic scale, right? Are quarks subatomic? Would they be subatomic? I don't know, right? I'm not a physicist. But yeah, so like the subatomic scale where you look at electrons, neutrons, protons, you look at things like that. All right, those levels of organization. Of course, that's a very scientific way of looking at it. So if you include semantics, you have a lot to take in, right? So, yeah, um to put that succinctly, I guess. I don't write, other places because I'm going to do it in that language. And one day I will write something in German. One day I will. Um my casing still isn't very good, and I like I want to say first and foremost that I do not use artificial intelligence to help me write songs like Hitza. But I do use sources. I have a multitude of sources. There's several online resources that help me with my casing. They help me with my grammar. And I have a lot of experience reading the German language. I have a little experience in the grand scope of things talking about how people learn language. In my experience, only to me, I have a lot of experience speaking German because I've actively sought it, as opposed to a language like Portuguese where I've only spoke like maybe once or twice with people, and not about in-depth topics or not about things that would really show my chops in the language, right? But um yeah, I do not have a lot of experience as a speaker of German in the grand scope of things, but that day will come. But yeah, so this is not to say that these things aren't worth looking into, but I guess it's like I'm having trouble identifying myself because I don't want to be an author. I don't want to be a musician, and like it's also really hideous for people to be like, I'm just me, right? I'm just me, and people who say that, like, it's like, yeah, you can't. I'm just me because I can't be replicated. No one could be me. It's like the way I think about it. There are lots of irreplicatable people or people that can't be replicated, right? I'm not one of those people. You could find another me out there, and you could probably find a more refined me. Um, because I really am an amalgamate of information from things that I didn't grasp myself, right? Do I intake a lot of information? Yeah, I forget a lot of information too. I'm not always the sharpest on everything, right? Like when I'm really into battleships, I'm sure, my cellular theory slips. Like, of course, I don't forget the basics, but who knows? Like, I can remember that the HMS Dreadnought had 10-inch cannons for its main armament now, but like when I'm studying why adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine, why they are the building blocks of, deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. When I'm studying why those interact with each other the way they do, like with sister chromatids and everything, and how cells reproduce through meiosis and alternation of generations, and what the alternation of generations for humans implies for our sexual dimorphism, or why we reproduce the way we do. When I'm looking into those things, I might forget that the HMS Dreadnought has 10-inch cannons on its main armament, or the length of anti-aircraft cannons on whatever airplane. What are the standard ones? What does a P-39 have? P-39 has 20-inch cannon, or I'm thinking of the P-51, the original P-51 model with the Hispano cannons. Is it 20 millimeter cannons? Hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Hold on. Yeah, the original Apache, the original Apache P-51. I I I didn't need to look it up to know it was the Apache. I already knew that. Okay, let's not get it confused here. I'm not slipping on my plane knowledge. I will never slip on my plane knowledge. All right, my my hyperfixation on American planes is out the fucking wazoo. I don't know what the Fokker the not the Fokker what did Werner Vandervoss fly? He flew was it a Fokker D7? It was either a Fokker D7 or Fokker D11, I think. I'm gonna look this up now. Hold on. All right, it said Fokker DR1, I guess. So I guess I guess I was wrong. It's not the D7 or D11, but all right, it's not the point. It's not the point. Okay. I don't know what the Focke-Wulf 109 or not 109. Oh my god. The Focke-Wulf 190, I think it is. Oh, Jesus. Alright, yeah, the Focke-Wulf 190. Right, I don't know what that was equipped with. I don't know what the BF 109 was equipped with. I don't know what the ME 262 had on it. Well, okay. You can't really say that these planes have one set armament. Some of them do. Like, some planes go their entire lives being produced with the same armament, but that's rare. Like the P-47, yeah, P-47 Thunderbolt went through a lot of armaments, but it mainly stuck with machine guns, right? The P-40 Warhawk was the same way, is mainly stuck with machine guns. P-51 was also mainly equipped with machine guns, but Spitfires went through a lot of change because there were a lot of iterations. Hurricanes, Typhoons, they kind of did the same thing where they didn't really like alternate, but there were a lot of variations in the machine guns. The yeah, the Ryzen, what is it? The A6M, or not the A6M, just the A6 model generally, right? The Zero, the Ryzen. That went through a lot of iterations too. It was a generally really good design. Not to say that American designs were bad, but America had a lot of designs because, one, they were really rapidly technologically improving. Like, look at the difference between like the F6F Hellcat versus like the F8F Bearcat. I think the F7F is the Tiger Cat, but the F8F Bearcat, like, look at the difference, and it's like staggering the amount of, like, this is props too. I don't know very much about jets, but like the difference in performance between props is like insane. And there were a lot of air wings, right? So there were Army air wings, so you know, you'd get like the P-40, or early on you'd get the P-40, and then you know, for like Army wings and shit, you know, you get P-51 for things like that. And then you had the aircraft carrier groups, which had like Wildcats, Hellcats, and super early on the F-2A shit, the piece of shit, the F-2A Buffalo. Yeah, that plane is terrible, but yeah. Um, but a lot of militaries, you know, they had a design and they stuck with it, like the Spitfire, and that was like their main, you know, utilitarian. I don't know how I got this brought. I don't know how I got this brought up. I will never slip. It is. I am so tired right now, and I still will not slip on my American planes, right? But yeah, so, um, yeah, I genuinely don't know how I got on this, but I don't want to be an author. I don't want to be like, I especially don't want to be like a poet. Nothing against poetry. I don't write good poetry. I never have written good poetry. I don't write good story. I don't write very much of good anything. I have a hard time writing my name well. Oh, and I don't even know what I'm indecisive on my name. I called this the Evan Button Show, and here I am. I'm Tenbrook now, right? But yeah, I don't want to be an author. I don't want to be a musician. I don't want to just be me. So it's like I'm having some trouble like identifying myself, and it's like like I'm not like a digital creator either, cuz that's lame. That's lame and gay. I'm not a scientist. So it's like I'm not a linguist either. Like that's the thing. Like I really love languages, and I know more about the German language than the standard American does, and I know more about like the Italian language than the standard American does. But I'm still not like great at them. I'm not like a scholar in the German language. Like, well, in the right context, this word would be used this way, but I'm going to use it in a different way. It's like, no, that's not me. I do a lot of reading in these languages, and I do a lot of understanding of the reading in these languages. But I have probed myself to like I have probed myself to understand these languages, and I understand the vocabulary, and like that does not translate to speaking because I haven't worked on that, and I do work on that sometimes, but it's not nearly as efficient. So there's that disconnect, but. Yeah, I'm not a linguist. I'm certainly not a gamer either. I don't even know I don't even know what people would call me, but this is me telling you that I'm not a musician, and you don't owe me anything. Or this is me telling you I'm not a musician, I'm not an artist, I'm not whatever. I'm not a creator, right? Like on paper I create things, but I'm not a creator. I was not made to be a creator. I will not. I just cracked my fingers. I'm not here to serve you with creations. I'll try to make you happy with my creations if that's what you aim for me to do. But like in general, I have no right to call myself a musician, and I have no right to wish to stand with giants or stand on the shoulders of giants to try to be taller than them, because that's disingenuous and that's fake. Like right, and there's always going to be someone out there working harder than me to make better, and not because they have more time, but because they're more skilled, or because they're more dedicated, because they know how to do things better than I do. That's like, okay, that's cool, right? And I love those people. Big shout out to all those fucking musicians that just know how to write. I'm friends with so many of them, and I've interacted with so many of them. Asher, Q, fucking the dudes from Finnish Postcard, the Blams, you know, Valentino from Tomorrow's Tessellations. I've met and interacted with a lot of these guys, and they're fucking awesome. Billy Cobb, I've talked to Billy Cobb. Like I've had some pretty solid conversations with Billy Cobb, and that man's one of my biggest fucking influences, and he's so fucking awesome. The fact that he would show someone like me daylight is insane. Like, fucking, I love Billy Cobb. I fucking love Billy Cobb. And yeah, so I don't know if you can hear the smile on my face, but I love these people. You know, these people who I've, maybe not all of them I would call my friend, but definitely all gentlemen I admire, and there are women out there too, of course. I don't want to make it seem like I'm like misogynistic, right? Like Stella from Dead Butterflies and her solo music. Her solo music's great. She's not like, we're not like friends, but I've talked to her. Like she's super cool. Angel from November and July. Juan Hermata. He yeah, the Tony so far, these people I've talked to, they're so cool. And even people I'm not like friends with, but like I have interacted with. I've interacted with the Smashing Pumpkins, and that's like, I know it's an intern, but I've still interacted with the Smashing Pumpkins. That's awesome. Glare. Yellow Card. Glare, Yellow Card. Who else? Who else am I thinking of here? Glare, Yellow Card. I have talked in DMs with Mike Kinsella from American Football on Twitter. I have done that before. Yeah, that's that's so fucking cool. Empire, I was a lonely estate. Cloud Nothings. You know, I've talked to all of these people, and then there's other bands that are like relatively small but are still really awesome. Like, I mixed the one demo for Marlo Plaza, and dude, they're Marlo Plaza. They're so fucking cool, and those guys, they deserve it. They don't hurl insults at the genre the genre of people that is musicians by lumping me in with those people. I'm here, man. And I know that's like super nihilist in some ways. Like, I don't ever want to be considered a musician, and I don't want to be considered a musician in anybody's eyes, because like there's so much realer and more raw music. If you want to give my music a chance and it touches you, pose. Let it do that. You know, I have no I'm not shaming you for liking my music if you do or anything, but like give all the stuff out there a chance, man. And like I said, never mistake me for a musician, because I'm just a guy that plays some instruments and writes sheet music, right? That's A musician is not who I am. You know, I'm not a scholar. I'm not an author. I'm not any of these things. I'm just, you know, I guess I am whatever you want me to be, but you know, in the grand scope of things, I would never be those things. I don't know. It's a really weird thing. They gotta come up with, they gotta come up with words for me. You know, something that doesn't have positive connotation, something that doesn't have negative connotation, something that is neutral, something that isn't enticing but doesn't drive you away, something that doesn't something that isn't an insult to me, but something that isn't an insult, but something that also isn't a compliment. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm striving for neutrality here, and I don't want to create any contention with how I view myself and how things are presented, because I guess I'll break the fourth wall, but you, as long as the you isn't me here, like if I'm watching my own video like an asshole, you are the musician, not of my music. You know, make your own fucking music, or you are the author. And I guess being the author is like the whole reader response thing. Dave Dave David Blythe is Blythe, not Blyche. That guy's such an asshole. But yeah, I guess. Well, I think it was him that talked about it. Either way, David Blythe is still an asshole who doesn't know how to pronounce his last name. um, but yeah, David Blythe, I think, talked about that, where like every time you read a story, you also write it. There's my thousands of dollars of college education for a semester going to work, my critical methods class. I don't think he would ever see this, but to my methods teacher, love you, brother. Or no, I that's a terrible sentence. I love you, professor. You did me a lot of good last semester, and I learned a lot from that class. But yeah, no, yeah. So I guess it's more true that you are an author of my stuff, but like you are the real hero here. You know, to be campy. You know, and it's not because the numbers or anything inspire me, but it's because you know, you're by listening to this, you're seeing the world through my eyes, I guess. And it's you're if you've listened this far, you've listened to the anger, to the sadness that comes with being reckoned with. It's not ego death. There's no ego death here, because I always wanted to get across, but now I'm saying the part that I've mostly said quiet, that I've mostly kept quiet, because I really don't want to be a musician in people's eyes. I don't want to be this guy that does whatever, right? I want you to see me as Tenbrook, but not the amount of butts I have to put into these are insane, because I don't want to be seen as this guy that's trying to be unreplaceable. Like, if you can replace me in the content sphere, do that. If you find another creator that has more deep, intricate thoughts, which there are lots of, there are a lot of people that get into philosophy and psychology. Not that I'm getting into philosophy or psychology, but that get into these fields and they go really in depth about the self, and they examine the self. Looking at the self is like psychoanalysis, like for literature, Sigmund Freud. But like I guess creation is like being a cordwainer. You need new leather to make new shoes, right? And yeah, I just don't want to be this guy in front of everybody, and yeah, see me as me, but don't make the mistake. Don't make the mistake, I guess, and I guess it's selfish to, say this, because this implies that I am someone who would be worth keeping around in the content sphere, like someone that watches my videos. Like, I have no value to you outside of this, right? As a listener, like, if you're one of my friends and you watch my videos, of course you're gonna have that value. But as a listener, if you find a video that doesn't interest you, or how I word things doesn't interest you, or my topics, they don't interest you, just fuck off. For your sake, don't let me waste your time, right? Now, if I'm getting through a sentence and I'm stammering a little bit, or I'm repeating myself, or I don't know what to say, give it a little levy room there, right? Because I'm working on it, right? I don't script these things out. But like, if you're not interested in the concept, and I made this video for me, I made this video to put out there that I am in a paradox of nothingness, that I don't want to be remembered, that I don't want to be remembered as a person. Me, first person pronoun, referring to the self, right? I do not want to be remembered. Like, if they take my name off of all my creations, that'll be fine. You can do that. When I die, take the creations. I have this big problem with, like, I have this big thing about stealing. Don't steal my stuff, right? But if you can use my stuff to suit you in some way, like, sampling, or, you take a little passage from something I write, that's fine. But don't steal. But, you can take my name off of everything, and that's fine. As long as it continues to exist. Because that's what I want for the world, because we're still a species amalgamating, right? I know someday that the sun is going to stop burning hydrogen, and it's going to start doing fusion. It's going to start doing fusion of helium, and then the sun is going to expand and destroy everything on Earth, everything that was on Earth, and all the energy that is put into everything will be redispersed into the helix, the sun. And that's okay. But as long as everything exists, and as long as humanity exists, and as long as I exist, I want this to be here. I want Tenbrook, I'll be honest, to exist as long as it can in my life, because I do love it. And I think if I'm not owed that, and that's not okay, then I will erase everything I've ever done. But if it's not too much to ask, love what I do very much, and I would love everything I say and everything I've done to stand. Not against the test of time. I don't want it to be lifeless. Or not lifeless. I don't want it to be a legacy. I don't want it to be an estate. You know, I don't want it to be physical. I don't want it to be monetary. I don't want it to be measurable like that, but for it just to exist. To have the accessibility to let you see into my mind because you want to. Because for whatever reason you want to. I would like that for everybody, right? Because of how much I love my work and how much I love being able to create just to do it without reason, for no incentive. You know, if that's not too much to ask, and I'm allowed to do that, then things will stand as long as they can. And yeah. So this is Tenbrook. Last episode of the Celestine and the Stars show. 25 episodes. I've said everything I need to say. More videos coming in the future, but this is me saying I'm not a musician. I'm not a concept. God, I'm so glad I'm not full of myself in that way. For now. Things could always change, but so glad I'm not full of myself in that right. But yeah, I'm not a musician, I'm not an artist, I'm not anything, you know. I'm not even me, right? This isn't about me, this is about you, right? Make of this what you will, like the Billy Cobb song. Yeah, this is about you. Let it be about you, and it's okay. It's okay to dislike, it's okay to love, it's okay to be full of passion. I'm not one of these people that, you know, feels entitled to your time or your money or anything. You know, just let it be, right? Because you can. And yeah, this is me just saying goodbye to the Celestine and the Stars show. Super late at night, and thanks for listening. Yeah. A lot of right there, but I don't really know how to end this. I don't really know how to end this. It's not you, it's me. More videos to come in the future. I'm going to do another album review shortly. And yeah, it's the end of an era. Music and stuff, everything is still gonna be on the way. I'm still gonna make music. I'm still gonna do all that stuff. But as for now, things are. This is the end of this, and it's the well needed end of this because, like I said, I've talked about me enough. You know everything about me that you want to know, and this video is more than just enough. This video is enough substance to get the gist of what, you know, I'm about. You know what I'm about generally. So, peace out. Take care. Much love. Your friend Tenbrook. Peace.